Joining me now on the Knicks Film School Podcast. This is the first time he has been on this podcast, although I have had the pleasure of being a guest on his pod. I think once I was with you recently, but then I think I did a podcast guest spot a few months before that. I don't know. Time is a flat circle. It runs together. He's a host of King's Pulse podcast on Blue Wire Pod Network. Shout out Blue Wire. And also he writes for the King's Herald. All things Sacramento Kings, best coverage there is. Brenden Nunes, how are you doing, my man?
I am doing good, John. My co-host and I say we have found a zen with this season. It's 7 losses in a row, but you just focus on player development. And there's been some bright spots. So we'll go with zen amid a 7-loss streak right here. I just checked before, as I remember to turn my light on. I just checked before we came on because as we were talking about other things that we do, I write a betting column on the side. And I wrote one for whatever it was a few days ago. And I'm like, the Kings are coming into this one having lost 6 in a row. And I typed whatever I typed. And I'm like, did they end up losing that 7th straight? And then I just went and looked. And I'm like, man, if I was Brenden, I would have told me to F off. Like, I don't feel like talking about my team right now. We've lost 7 in a row. So thank you for coming on. No problem.
Despite this.
I don't know how great my analysis is going to be because, same as you, I was like, wow, they've lost 6 in a row and now they got a back-to-back against Milwaukee. I don't know how much I'm going to watch this game, to be honest.
No, but you know this team as well as anyone, which is why I wanted to bring you on because the Knicks do, in fact, play the Kings in a short amount of time as I'm pulling up the schedule to know exactly when. Yes, they play the Kings on Thursday. So fans are back in MSG for the first time against Golden State. Or actually that game will have happened by the time this pod drops. Thursday night. And for a very, 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 very long time, the Knicks were a get well team for teams who needed to get well. And I think they still might be a get-well team. I don't know if you paid attention to our last few. We had not the greatest of showing against the Magic.
You were the get-well team for the Kings earlier this year, by the way. You started a 7 out of 8 game win streak.
I was about to say, and that's when you guys ended up a game over 500, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then 7 in a row since.
There's a part of me that was like, well, I hope for your sake, the same thing happens, but that would be a lie because I don't hope the same thing happens this time around.
I don't mind. I like I said, I have a zen with this season right now. I think Halliburton, Fox, there's been Bagley production recently, which is new, and I think they need one more guy, and the only way you get that is the draft. So I don't mind.
So let's start there. I was going to start someplace else, but you led me right to it. I think if the Knicks, let's say, perhaps starting with the Golden State game or maybe starting with you, lost 4, 5, 6 in a row, I think a lot of fans would be disappointed, but I think they would pretty quickly talk themselves into, oh, wait, we got Julius Randle, we got RJ Barrett, we got Mitchell Robinson, we got Emmanuel Quickly. We need one more guy. Perfect opportunity. Was it tough for you to make the transition this season from like, hey, we're a game over 500, we're kind of spunky, to now where the season looks like it's headed?
Not really, because I kind of thought the win streak was fool's gold going into the year. I had the Kings as the 13th team in the Western Conference.
Okay.
So I wasn't too optimistic going in, but then I think the last 2 games of that, actually they even had a loss to Philly where I was like, okay, maybe this team actually is decent. And
I watched that game. They were winning in the beginning of the fourth quarter.
Yeah, against I believe healthy Philly team.
Yeah.
A lot of it had to do with De'Aaron Fox playing out of his mind. But turns out it was most players really playing at their peak. 5 of those 8 games in that run, they played a team that was missing a starter. And now they've suffered a little bit of some minor health issues, but they were one of the more healthy teams for a good while of the beginning of the year. And, things are going to come up and it's just kind of exposing their lack of depth. So personally, it wasn't too hard of a transition for me. It was actually more difficult when they were winning games, when I was like so focused on, I got really into the draft last year. And I thought this was the year, okay, they have to get a top pick. This is the last year where I felt like, you reasonably can be not chasing the playoffs, with Fox just going to be about starting his max next year. Halliburton's on his rookie year, so you obviously have time with him. I felt like this was the year where you still could get one more top 5, top 7 sort of pick, and then have a trio moving forward. Like in my mind going into this year, it was like, okay, one more year and then you are set for the future with a promising trio. But it needs to be a good pick. So I was actually almost a little worried because I didn't think that the team was ever going to be like playoff team. To me, like the ceiling of the team, even when they were on that streak, is getting swept in the first round. And yeah, while some fans might enjoy that, it's a 13-year playoff drought, so I get it. But I definitely am trying to look towards more long-term future of the team. And yeah, another pick in, the early teens, I thought would kind of be a little difficult for me. I want to focus on this for a bit because like in New York, we've been having these very conversations, and I think we've moved away from them recently, as it felt somewhere in the last 2 weeks that something about the season here became a little bit more legitimized. But I think for the first maybe 6 weeks or so, there was a lot of like, well, who cares that Reggie Bullock and Alec Burks and Nerlens Noel are helping? Like, that doesn't matter. That's not helping us in the long term. And now it's more like, wait a minute, they really seems to have righted the ship. Do you think that you would feel the same way if you were, and this is not any offense against Sacramento, that's what I was going to ask you. Is Pizza Rock still there? Pizza Rocks. No, I haven't heard of this. And I only moved to Sacramento area like a year and a half. So I'm behind. But the pizza place here is Pizza Guys.
Pizza Guy. Okay. I was only in Sacramento once and I went to Pizza Rock. It was very good. Anyway, so I don't mean this to disparage Sacramento because I had a great time the 2 nights that I spent there in my life. But it's not traditionally thought of as a major market, whereas New York is. Do you think you would be more inclined to be okay with, like, okay, we're going to be a 7th or 8th team. We're probably going to get wiped in the first round, but we're in a bigger market. Or do you think your viewpoint is more specific to the fact that it's Sacramento, free agents don't traditionally sign here, we need to build through the draft?
Yeah, I think 100% that's the case. Like, I think if it was a New York type situation, like for Sacramento, to me, the only way you're getting a star, like I think, the goal for any team should be an eventual championship. A Western Conference championship, and then you kind of dice roll your way. Maybe you end up with something. And I think the only way that happens is you need another player the caliber of De'Aaron Fox, ideally better than De'Aaron Fox. Even though I absolutely love Fox and what he's been doing, I think the only way the Sacramento gets that is through the draft. And I think that once you have that core in place and, you work your way to a 6 seed, 5 seed, and you clearly have more internal growth coming, then you're a little more appealing to free agents. But I don't think that you're ever going to get the guy that is going to get you to the point where you are appealing in free agency.
That's interesting because that's so fun because I view De'Aaron Fox from afar as one of 5, 6 guys that if I'm in my imagination, if I was an NBA player, I'd be like, I want to go play with that dude. Do you disagree, or you just feel like they need more than just him?
No, I think that totally could be the case, but I think that, and the play that I saw from De'Aaron this year and the development in his shooting has definitely made me question, okay, maybe this guy could be a number 1 on our team, but I still think he probably needs like a 1B. And I love Halliburton, but I do think he's just an absolutely elite role player. And yeah, I just don't think that you're attracting that guy to Sacramento in free agency. I think you can attract role players with that, but I don't know that
I understand.
A star looks and is like, okay, yeah, I'm going to go with De'Aaron Fox and change Sacramento. And there's not much else of like a future right now.
That makes a lot more sense. Last thing on the draft, because again, you are in the place that I have been for so many years. Are you yet at the point where you're like, let's say you guys win this game against the Knicks? Is there going to be a part of you like, it's like, damn, it's another win. That's not helping me. Or are
this
you
is the only place I'll admit it, but yeah, this is the only place I will admit it, but yes. Like I root for them in the games.
Yeah, no,
of course. I can't help myself.
You can't root you can't actively root against the Kings, right. But yeah, okay.
Yeah. There is a peace of mind when they lose. I'm like, this is all part of the bigger plan right here.
again, from my perspective, looking at you guys, I'm like, there's no way they're passing Detroit. There's no way they're passing Cleveland. If net ratings are your thing, I don't think there's any way you're passing Oklahoma City. I'm trying to think if there's somebody else that I'm forgetting. Minnesota. Oh God. Ooh, Minnesota's bad. When's the last time you guys played the Wolves?
We have not this year, actually.
Oh, well, you're in for a treat. Sorry. It's going to be another win unless you guys don't show up because the Wolves are bad. The Wolves, and we'll see what goes on in Washington. They've seemed to turn the corner recently. So I don't know. Maybe would you sign for the sixth worst record right now? Or do you have loftier
Yeah, I probably would, but I think that's probably about their range. I think, 6 to 5 to 8, somewhere in there. Because I think there's a good chance that at least one of Barnes or Hield is shipped off, and if it's Barnes, that he is one of the least replaceable guys on the roster currently. So that makes the team a lot worse. Like we've seen, maybe there's an outside chance that they don't think they can re-sign Holmes this offseason and end up moving him. And we've seen recently no Holmes and Barnes, the kind of impact that has on the roster. So I think they're going to be sellers at the deadline, and that's also going to be a little bit of an impact.
That's a great transition, because I was just going to ask you, as we're talking, I'm like, I just don't see if they keep this team together, they're going to be able to bottom out to that level, because I for my 2 cents, was very impressed by the Kings when we played each other. And whenever I turn them on League Pass, it's like there's moments where you could tell why they're a team that's where they are, but there's also some really great stuff going on. So you mentioned Barnes, you mentioned Hield, and you mentioned Holmes. Those are the only guys. Would it shock you? I mean, they're not moving Fox or Halliburton. The guy we haven't talked about yet is Bagley. Can you talk to me about Marvin Bagley a little bit? Where's Mr. Bagley at these days?
It is so day to day with Marvin Bagley. Tim Maxwell just posted something on Twitter that I'll read out right here. His first 7 games of this year, 10 points and 8 boards. The splits are 36, 27, 58. Not good. The next 7 games, 16 points and 7.5 boards. The splits are 58, 42, 61. Promising. And then 9 games after that, 10 points, 7 boards, 47, 39, 13 splits.
Still 30. What was that last number?
47, 39, and then 13. That's the free throw percentage right there. I don't know the sample, but yeah. And then the most recent 5 games, he's been really promising, actually. And there's been some injuries, but most recent 5 games, 18.6 points, 8 boards, 52% from the field, 48% from 3, 73% from the free throw line. So it's all over the place still. Okay. And right now he's in a good streak. He's actually, he's playing the best basketball of his career right now. Actually, I think he's very aggressive and is more reactionary to defenses rather than going into, I think already having predetermined what his move is going to be. So I think the game's kind of slowing down a little bit for him. And I know that after the first New York game, I was very vocally critical of his defense on Julius Randle, and
we spoke about that
slack for it. Yeah. I had to check with you. I was like, I'm not crazy here, right? Bagley was pretty bad that game.
You were crazy.
And since then, even last night, he actually had some okay minutes against Giannis where it's okay minutes are wow, he didn't fall for that pump fake. I can't remember the last time I've seen him not fall for a pump fake.
That's Kevin Knox's music that I hear in the background in New York, except Knox has not had quite the offensive flashes that he had some great numbers from the corners this year, but you're basically describing a souped up version of our Kevin Knox.
Right. Yeah. So Bagley's in a little bit of a hot stretch right now, but I also don't think Bagley's ever winning you a game.
Would you be shocked if they moved him?
I guess I wouldn't be shocked, but I don't really see too much of a point. I think his value isn't great right now, and I think he still could be something. And since I'm more focused on the long term, and I get the impression that new GM Monty McNair is as well for not matching Bogdanovic. He's talked about sustained success for the team in an eventual championship. And I very much get the impression that he wants to get younger and focus on the future. And I think, you can wait a little bit and see if Bagley does become something, because this really kind of should be treated as his second year in the league after only playing 13 in his sophomore season. And I think that Yeah, I mean, if you were just judging off flashes, he was already a guy that in my mind was going to take 3 years to really be something, a positive contributor on a night in, night out basis. So I think it's fine to still give Bagley a little bit of time.
Last thing on Bagley before we move on, he's a 4, right? Or is he a 5?
I lean towards a 5. Like right now, he's a 4 a lot. And because he's really developed his 3-point shot, specifically his corner 3-ball this year, it's been okay to play him alongside Holmes. Like, I guess sometimes you're even playing him alongside Whiteside, which Whiteside minutes are a whole different conversation.
We don't need to talk about them. I won't make.
Yeah, that's fine by me. But I think that Bagley is best at the 5. But it's definitely still a debate that needs to be decided.
Okay. Yeah, and I mean, it's not as loud a debate here, but I'm already projecting that as Obi Toppin's eventual, like, you're going to need to play him at the 5 if you want to get the most out of this guy. So, yeah, it's if you're a tweener, that's what you're going to have to deal with. You mentioned Buddy Hield. We've talked about Hield before, I think multiple times now. He's a name. He's still a name. And yet I went... What was I I think I put in, what was my search parameters? Because I was looking up something about the Knicks, and it's like minimum 10 shots a game, minimum of like certain games played. And then I just sorted by field goal percentage, not effective, just straight field goal percentage. And then I'm looking at the bottom of the list. It was like 100 some guys, and Buddy Hield was like, again, whatever the numbers I put in were, where it was like 6th or 7th or 8th from the bottom or something in field goal percentage. But then I looked at his threes. I'm like, he's still hitting like whatever, 36, 37% from 3 on good volume. Is he just not making any other shots? Like, what's going on with Buddy Hield this year?
Yeah, he doesn't take many others. He has 14 total field goal attempts, and 10 of those are from beyond the arc. So he's never been a guy, like, his handle, I guess, was attempting to get used a little bit more last year, but it's not at a point where he's breaking anybody down off the dribble. I think he can attack closeouts somewhat.
I was about to say, what about closeouts in the pick and roll? Anything there?
There's not much in a pick and roll because I think he is kind of a poor decision maker and is kind of just looking to take a pull-up jumper. And when you're one-dimensional like that, I think it's kind of easy to take that away from him. And yeah, so like last year, his scoring numbers out of the pick and roll looked good, but that's, one dribble off the screen and he's kind of pulling it right behind it. And that's fine. But yeah, he's never been a good finisher around the rim. He struggles to get to the rim in the first place. There used to be a little bit more of like a mid-range game that was kind of what would happen when he was attacking hard closeouts. And there was a stretch throughout this year at the beginning where he really was going away from those. So, yeah, I mean, I think Buddy Hield is just the field goal percentage obviously isn't ideal, but I don't think he's ever like really excelled in that aspect either.
Yeah, but the way you explain it makes a lot more sense to me. Because Knicks fans inevitably, when you think about trades, it's like, oh, Buddy Hield's out there. He's what's that?
Feel free. Yeah, you can. Yeah, let's make a deal right now.
Is he worth his contract in your mind?
No. Okay. And I actually thought he was at the time. One of my worst takes was all those contracts happened, and I was like, worst contract, Jaylen Brown. Best contract, Buddy Hield. I sound so stupid right now.
You want to talk about bad takes? I'm sure there is some. My Andrew Claudio on this call producing this podcast can probably go dig up something of me saying like, I would need a little bit of a sweetener, but Julius Randle for Buddy Hield, give me a little something. We could. Yeah, I'm sure that got said somewhere along the line.
Right. So what's happened since then is that like there hasn't been. I think there's been more pure shooters kind of emerge in the league, and like I think of like a Duncan Robinson and Joe Harris, and these guys were kind of around, but then they've gotten placed with their contractual value, and it's just like so much lower than Hield.
And Harris is 16 or 17. No, sorry, I misstated. 17, 18, 16. He's in that range. Bertans is 16. Right. I imagine Trent is going to get around 15, 16 this summer. Hield's at 20, an average of like 23, right?
Right. But again, like it's just a shooter to me. Like I really kind of think Buddy is just a shooter. Like I don't know, and he has
the defenses
ways
like,
to go. It's horrible.
It's horrible. You went straight to the horrible.
Yeah,
you weren't even like trying to butt.
Like part of the reason that Sacramento is so bad on defense and Bagley's been better, I guess, is that they like roll out two of the worst defenders in the league, and Hield is one of them. Hield is a really bad defender. He tries really hard. Like Hield is a track star athlete. He's never stops moving, but his rotations are, if there's rotating around the horn going on, the mistake usually starts with Hield.
That's interesting. Because one of the interesting parts about this Knicks season, like early on, a lot of people were like, oh, Frank Ntilikina. Frank Ntilikina is definitely going to be part of Tibbs' rotation because he's a good defender. And what we've seen instead is Tibbs has figured out a way to take guys who have been like meh defenders to like slightly above meh defenders over the course of their career and turn them into guys who can at least, they're third ranked defense right now. So say what you want about whatever is going on. It is what it is. And I just wonder, I think that is one of the areas this front office is trying to look for not undervalued, but like, we'll take on that your crap and see if we could turn it into something, because Hill isn't crap. He's a great shooter. He's still a great shooter. So
he can win you games with his shooting. Like he goes nuclear sometimes. And part of it is, I think Sacramento's a little bit on the other side of what you're talking about right now, where last year, if a lot of the Walton criticism was directly focused around Buddy Hield, it was like, why is Buddy Hield the one initiating the offense so often? And I guess somewhat there weren't other great options. Like this year, you have Halliburton to fill that role a little bit more. That's why you've seen the ball out of Hield's hands as often this year, and that's been beneficial. But I don't think that this is my criticism of Walton, because I guess he got some praise during this stretch as well, is I can't point to a player that he's optimized, I feel like, but I can point to situations where I feel like he's misused players. And Hield was prime example. I hope I'm not getting this wrong. You guys are the team that hired what prominent coaches or an assistant in the offseason? Gentry.
Thank you.
And Rex Kalamian.
Is that watch on yet, or is that?
I don't know.
Sorry, did I ask a bad question?
No, you're fine. I don't really know. Like, I think that going into this year, again, like the idea was it's a down year, and I believe they still have one more year of Jaeger. This is only Walton's second of a 4-year deal.
Okay.
So I didn't really see the harm in, biting the bullet on one more year. And, Walton probably actually helps you lose a few more games.
Okay. Again, that's where we're at right now.
Yeah.
Okay. The Hield thing is interesting to me because it's 2 more years left. Right. But descending. But like, again, you guys aren't in a position where you're like want to attach an asset to get rid of Buddy Hield, right? Why would you do that? Okay. Yeah. It's just, Barnes is interesting to me because Barnes is a good basketball player. And I think he's a good basketball player. My perception, again, I don't watch Harrison Barnes, 100th as much as you do, but my perception is like he's a solid guy that just has a bad name, and I guess a little bit is that is the contract, because he's at what, 20? Is he at 25?
He has, if you include this year, 3 years, 60 remaining.
Oh, that's right. He reached that was the original contract.
He was just declining as well.
That's right.
I think it's a fair deal.
No, look at all the extensions signed. The rookie extension signed right before the season. Like, you can't argue to me that you could pay a guy like, and I understand like those guys, there's some ceiling there and whatever, and Barnes kind of is what he is, but like, if he's not worth 20 a year, he's worth 15 a year, whatever, 16, 17. Do you think you'll get something decent for him?
I think that I do. I think the Boston situation is really unique.
That's what I was going to ask you.
Yeah, that one, I've been screaming that one for a long time. Barnes is the same age as Buddy Hield, which is crazy. He's only 28 years old. And
he feels like he's been in the league for 15 years.
There was a Hield joke for a long time, too, that he was like the oldest player ever because he came out of college after 4 years. But yeah, Barnes is, just kind of entering his prime. And I think is playing one of the most valuable, if not the most valuable position in the league. with that, 3-4. I think he's a switchable defender. He doesn't make too many mistakes, and I don't think he's elite in any area at all. I think he's just very solid in his entire game. And I also can't really point to a glaring weakness in his game. And I think that's really valuable for someone his size. He's just really able to take advantage of different situations. And Boston has a serious lack of depth right now. They love their switchable wings. And yeah, I mean, I don't think that too much needs to come back, since a lot of what you're doing is eating that salary. And I think a lot of the idea around Sacramento right now is they need to get rid of one of Barnes or Hield in order to re-sign Holmes this offseason.
Is that a priority for you guys? I've always I told you this on every pod I've been on with you. I love Richaun Holmes. Every time I watch him play, I'm like, I want that dude on my team. He just plays with so much energy.
Yeah, I love Holmes. I think Holmes is, a top 15 sort of center in the league. And sounds crazy, but there's a lot of fall off after, 10, 12 sort of range.
Yeah, I think you could make an argument. Sure.
Yeah, I don't know if he's still there, but he's definitely still hovering around top 5 in field goal percentage right now. He's a really solid defender, shown some switchability. So yes, I really like Holmes. I am in the minority. I will say that I don't think you need to make it a priority. Excuse my dog squeaky toy in the background. I don't think
I was wondering when the dog, was it going to be during Bagley? Was it going to be during the Hield discussion? No, he waited for Holmes.
This is the only time she loves that toy, I swear.
Richaun elicits, really generous reactions.
She does not agree with my Richaun Holmes sake. I don't think that it's you have to, if the only way that you do it, say, is at the deadline, all of a sudden you only can re-sign Holmes if you are shipping off Harrison Barnes for absolutely no return. Then I just don't think you need to be desperate to re-sign Holmes. I love the guy. Yeah. But I think center is one of the most replaceable positions in the league. And I think that the reason that Sacramento fan base has trouble realizing that is because they've signed really bad backup centers all the time. They've had,
I told you we didn't need to talk about him on this podcast. We don't need to.
I wasn't even, they had Harry Giles before, Harry Giles, absolutely fan favorite. Love the guy. He is a horrible defender, and was negative in most of his minutes out there. So I do think that there's center's pretty replaceable, and Sacramento hasn't done a good job of replacing that, but a new regime might be different.
We're kind of in that spot right now with Mitch, and I think the one thing everybody's kind of looking at right now is he went out with a broken hand. What's it been, 3 games now? Or as we're recording this, it's been 3 games. And the defense, they've played some bad teams, so you really can't judge. But it's like they could make him a restricted free agent if they want to this offseason. Or they could just let him play out his contract for $1.8 million next year. And it's like, see what you can go get. I don't know. I tend to, I love Mitchell Robinson, but the value of the position is the value of the position if you're not dealing with one of those, who guys.
Yeah. Financially, what sort of range are you at? Where's your walking point?
Where's my walking point?
Yeah. Annually.
I would have given him the max that they could have given him this previous offseason, which was roughly, I think, 4 for 52 or whereabouts. Okay. I would have happily given him that because I feel like could it have been an overpay? Could have come back to buy you? Sure. But you're making an investment in a kid who I think is looking. This is going to sound so hokey. I think he wants a home. Guy's been through 6 agents. I think if you show that dude some love and be like, we are going to invest in you as a player. We're going to invest in you as a person. You are a Knick. You're a backbone of what we do here on defense. We're going to build our defense around you. And I think he's actually had a good year. And yet at the same time, I almost wonder, would I give that contract again? I think ultimately I would. But 12, 13 is probably around. And that's a little high, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably where I'm about for
about 12.
Yeah,
12, 13,
it's about 12. I think Tristan Thompson, Montrezl Harrell each got $9 million right now, and they went to completely different markets. With LA and Boston. But I think those are comparable-ish players.
Well, we have Nerlens Noel here, who is not as good as Mitchell Robinson or Richaun Holmes, but he's a serviceable center who could give you 20 minutes a night of decent production. And if you have like, again, we're talking about the Knicks now, you have like a Randall who could spot some minutes at the 5, and it's like, you fill in the, and it's
they
1 year.
got Holmes for 2 years, 10.
Exactly. There you go. So like these guys are out there. If you look, Daniel Tice with Boston, you know him. I mean, I know he's not perfect, but all right. Enough about Richaun Holmes. All due respect, I love Richaun Holmes. He's great. I've managed to string this podcast along for a half an hour, and I have not yet asked a question about Tyrese Halliburton, who I think we're on the same page about. I think he's going to be one of the best role players in the league for the next, how old is he? 21? So whatever, the next 10, 15 years?
Or 21 in a couple days, I guess.
I don't know if it's just when I'm clicking on Kings games, but it feels like every time I turn on, it's like, oh, there he is making the exact right play. Not like an okay play, not like not making the wrong play, making the exact right play and being the exact right. And it's like the shots that he misses are like, I'm comfortable with that shot. You can take that shot 10 times out of 10. I'm fine with it. I don't care that it didn't go in. And by the way, a lot of shots are going in. Are you like, do you think he's going to, where are you? Just talk to me about Tyrese Halliburton. I'll give you the floor.
Yeah. The fan base is obviously enamored with Halliburton. I am too. I love high IQ players. And it's funny. I somehow only came to the realization yesterday that Sacramento has like nobody in between. They're either just like really high feel players, or they're just, have no clue what's going on half the time they're out there.
I'm not going to ask you to go down the roster and name who's who, but
yeah, it's not fun. Halliburton is on the former. And yes, obviously, I think the wording I've used for him is that he excels at capitalizing on an advantageous situation, but he's not going to be the player that creates the advantage.
Okay.
And that's where, you kind of meet somewhat of a ceiling. And I will say the parts that have made me question his ceiling is some shot variance and making that I just completely did not expect.
Is he still over 50, or he's below 50 from
he's
three
in at
now?
49 from the field
Jesus
right now.
Christ. Come on.
44% from three on 5 attempts a game, 84% from the free throw line. Yeah. So, I mean, Halliburton, and he does seem to have like slowed down a little bit. But at the same time, like I said, he's not the person that you want, in my mind, initiating the offense solely by himself. And Fox really having digressed a little bit recently, I think is kind of why Halliburton has slowed down maybe a bit there. And yeah, slowed down for him obviously is still, like you're saying, an absolutely elite role player. And I think, some people are looking at him as a eventual all-star, and I don't know that I'm quite there. Like I said, maybe the shot making is changing that. I think, maybe he could be a guy that sneaks into one or something like this. But yeah, I think that, if he's ever number one on your game plan, that's a problem.
But he doesn't need to be he obviously wasn't number one on the Knicks game plan when we played each other, and he just kept making shot after shot and making play after play, and it is what it is. I mean, I'm still on the let's wait for Obi to play, 30 NBA games and more than 12 minutes a game before we start going crazy. I liked what I've seen from Obi Toppin, which might sound a little nuts, but he's shown enough flashes for me to be like, okay, well, let's calm down.
You wish you had to Halliburton, John.
Well, would I make the trade right now? Yeah, any sane person would make the trade right now. I've already moved into the like, is this the type of thing is this Donovan Mitchell? Is this Frank over Donovan? Is this, or Bam if you want, or is this Kevin Knox over Shai Gilgeous-Alexander or
Marvin Bagley over Luka Doncic?
You said it, not me. Yeah, but I think the fact that Halliburton's ceiling is what, again, who knows? We shouldn't put a ceiling on the kid. He's a rookie, but it seems to be what it is, and we've seen so little from Toppin. It's why it's like I'm not anywhere there yet. I'm going to ask you just a couple more, and then you've been great with your time, so I appreciate it. And then we'll get you out of here. Knicks fans will be mad at me if I do not at least ask the question. So I'm going to ask it, but I'm going to preface it by saying I think it's a stupid question at this point. And it's a question about De'Aaron Fox. He literally just signed the extension. And I think he made fun of the Knicks actively on Twitter on draft night because they fell in the draft. So like, but Knicks fans, again, I do this, so I can't say bad things about other people who do this because I've done this in the past. But like, I wonder if that guy's going to want out of his situation in a couple of years. Like, is there any inkling of like we got to start winning soon, otherwise, Fox is going to start getting, or you guys just feel pretty good about where things are at?
I don't think so. I'm not worried about it. There's some people are because but I think the worst thing you could do is, go win now. I think that if Fox sees what Halliburton has as a future, and I think that if, again, you add one more guy, if Fox is able to see the future plan of the team, that you're going to be totally fine. And I actually think Sacramento's future is a very few fixes away from being in a pretty good spot. And Fox being the main guy there, he really wanted to go to Sacramento. I get the impression that he is very much the leader of the team right now. Players are saying they're calling him over, or he's having them at their house and in safe environments. Obviously, this is one of the few environments in the league where he gets to be a leader of a team. So I think that's an aspect of it as well. And, this being a poor year, I think has allowed him to throw up a lot of threes and really expand his game. So I think he is using the downtime well. So I don't worry about it too much. I think we're probably 2 years off from that. If it's like, okay, there's no direction of this team.
That's more than fair. I'm trying to think. Kuminga Green for you guys? Kuminga, one of those guys, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'll take Cunningham. I really do. Yeah.
Listen, screw you. You have De'Aaron Fox.
Yeah,
all right. You don't get Cunningham. I'm sorry.
I think yes, Kuminga. Definitely. I mean, obviously Jalen Green's great. I have Green higher than Kuminga at the current moment. I only have 6 guys on my board, by the way.
It's one more than I have. I don't know.
I like Green.
Probably Keon Johnson's number 6 on my board, but yeah.
Okay. So I like Green better than Kuminga, but I think that you need a wing player on the Sacramento roster. I don't think that, having 3 skinnier or slimmer guys is really ideal for that team. That being said, I would absolutely love Jalen Green on the roster. It'd be dynamic in the open court. But yeah, I mean, I'm definitely Kuminga, Zaire Williams, Moses Moody is kind of where I lean a little bit. I just did a Jalen Johnson little breakdown yesterday, and I don't love it, but he's possible.
Every time I watch that guy, I'm like, I don't want any part of it. Zaire looks like he should be so
Jalen
good.
Johnson, yeah.
Yeah, I don't want any part of Jalen Johnson. Zaire interests me a lot. Zaire, someone's going to take that kid high. I don't even care what he does the rest of this year. He looks too good. Okay, this is the last one. They're playing each other. Give me your 30-second to a minute scouting report. What are you worried about coming into this game? I know your mindset is a little bit different as a Kings podcaster right now, but like, is it just like, let's stop Randall and like let them figure out something else, another way to beat us, or is there anything else you're concerned about?
Yeah, I mean, I am going to be interested to see how Bagley has developed since their last showing, because I think he's become a little bit more disciplined and had a better, wider and further back stance, and doing a lot of his work before the pass happens. So I'm going to be really interested to see how that development goes, and I think that's going to be really key. But I think staying out of foul trouble. You saw this issue last night, and it's really common with Holmes and Bagley being really foul prone. And really, I mean, I think that De'Aaron Fox just needs to be in his mindset where, okay, I'm going to go out and get 30 and 8 tonight. Because I think he can do that most nights if he decides to, but recently he's been a little checked out. And yeah, I think that's a lot of what needs to go on the offensive end of the floor. Like, the offense needs to carry them is what it comes down to. They're the worst defense in the league.
I don't know if you've heard, we have Elfrid Payton on the roster. So you could take those notions of 30 and 8 and just toss them to the side of the road.
Corey Joseph is locking down RJ Barrett, just so you know. So this goes both ways right here.
RJ got locked down by Karl Anthony Towns, who is not quite the Kemi Mutombo, but got a couple blocks on him. So RJ's figuring some stuff out right now. It's okay. He's 20. It's okay. Not gonna speak ill of RJ on this podcast. I think that's it.
Yeah, sorry I don't have all too much analysis on these games right now. I can't tell you I've been doing the most X's and O's. Okay, how are we going to go in there and get a win tonight at this point?
No, this is fantastic. This is exactly what I wanted, because I'm just fascinated to hear about other situations in league, especially situations that are somewhat similar to, I think, look, the Knicks may have more wins, but like, these situations are not different, and you guys have the better young prospect in De'Aaron Fox, obviously. So can you just tell the folks at home where they can find you and your stuff?
Yeah, we share Blue Wire family. So Kings Pulse Podcast over at Blue Wire, and then any writing is going on at kingsherald.com. And I guess you could check out my Twitter as well. It's at Brenden Nunes NBA. But just a bunch of Sacramento Kings content. That's all I got going.
I like reading the Kings content because it's one of the few things that can historically made me feel better about being a Knicks fan. Because
nice.
It's like, just go read some stuff about, as I'm sure that is the case for you guys as well.
Yeah, for sure. That has definitely been the case. Yeah. My best friends in media are probably, Minnesota covers for good reason, So.
Oh God, one day the pain will end. It might not be today or tomorrow, but one day.
One more draft. That's what I tell myself. Going into next year, I'm going to be like, this was a horrible draft. One more.
If you get Cade, I'm going to be so pissed because that's not going to be fair. Cade and Fox together, sounds
phenomenal. Cade or Mobley. Those are two. Yeah,
that would be good too for you guys. Yeah, well, listen, keep losing games starting with Thursday night or continuing with Thursday night, as it were.